Hi, I'm Aaliyah Farrard, the Hunger Free Communities Manager at the Alliance to End Hunger. Across the United States, 47 million people are struggling to find their next meal. Our strongest defense against hunger starts in communities, with local leaders working every day towards a food secure future. Join us November 19th for the 2026 Hunger Free Communities Virtual Summit, a virtual convening of groups, advocates, and practitioners from across the country. You'll hear the latest practices, insights, and innovations from the front lines of the anti-hunger movement. Register by Labor Day for the special early bird rate of $35. Learn more at alliancetoendhunger.org/HFC Summit. Now, let's get to today's episode.
In the heart of Jackson, Mississippi, is Footprint Farms. This farm produces more than food. It engages community, responds to health issues, provides educational opportunities, and serves as a model for both urban and rural food security and development. At the center of this operation is Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott. Her vision for Footprint Farms and the larger community is as ambitious as her journey has been unusual. On this episode, I speak to Cindy about her insights into the intersection of culture, nutrition, agriculture, and hunger, and what lessons can be learned by the larger anti-hunger community movement across the country and beyond. Cindy, welcome to the Voices to End Hunger podcast. It's such a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so very much. And I am not only pleased, but honored to have the opportunity to speak with you and to see you again and just to talk. This is one of my favorite things to do.
Well, you are a great talker, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And it is wonderful to see you again. Before we get into Footprint Farms and your role as a farmer and agriculture questions, let's start with how you got to where you are. You took a rather unusual path to get into farming. Can you talk about that?
Sure, would love to talk about it. And now, just remember, I gave up those red bottom high heels for work boots, but I never looked back. It was just the best thing that I never made a decision to do. It actually found me more so than me finding it. I was an investment banker in New York for many, many years, doing investments throughout the U.S. and outside of the country as well. Great life, doing great things. Never thought I'd be a farmer, but I tell you what, is the best thing I've ever done in my life is to get into the agriculture side of this and to actually feel it and be a part of it and to see the difference that we're doing every day. As an investment banker, we always hoped that what we were doing got to the people that was actually paying for it. But this, as a farmer, I can tell you, when those cucumbers are grown or those squash and things are produced, and I see people that I know in my community or other people that's actually there to get it, I know what I'm doing is correct. But I got into this after 9/11. I actually started life new by being a part of what was going on at that time. We actually made the decision not to go back to New York and to look at another line of work to still serve, but not in the same capacity. So I'm here as a full-time farmer and a rancher and an ag producer and an advocate for bringing fresh, local, affordable food. So just a little
Wow.
highlight, but I'm a country girl, a native Mississippian. I just never thought I would be back home doing this, but I am so excited about it.
What a wonderful story. And Footprint Farms is right in Jackson, Mississippi, which many people may be surprised about, right? That might be a little bit unusual to establish a farm in such an urban area of the state, although we know the state is mostly rural. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, great. Let me tell you, it is the best of both worlds. We actually have 68 acres in the city, all connected together. I actually live on the farm. It was actually purchased early on in my career, and that's where we lived. It was home. Now it is home to the farm and still us. My two sons, LeGrand and Eric, both was reared there, going through high school, and they attended the universities there in Jackson at Jackson State University and Tougaloo College. So they stayed and lived there. So for us, it was an easy transition to take the property to be able to make it do something else other than the beautification, which is still a beautiful spot, but to actually see a concern and be able to go in and to address it. So we actually then in 2010 actually registered and started looking at working it as a farm. We first started with our tennis court. We converted the tennis court since LeGrand was no longer at home when he was in college. We didn't need a tennis court. So we used the lights and I actually did my first crops in the tennis garden. And I named it the Serena Williams Tennis Garden, where I first started raising my raised beds and peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes. And you put the little seeds in the soil and it grew. It scared me. So it is unusual, but right now we're actually specializing in urban agriculture here in the city and the state and other parts of the country as well. At the present time, we're in 11 states where we have boots on the ground. And these boots on the grounds are inside the cities in the urban areas, working with nonprofits groups, especially a nonprofit that we work directly with, where we're putting funds into the city, into the gardeners and wannabe gardeners or farmers that's actually got their own farm number inside the city. And if not, we work to show them how they can get their farm number and actually be registered as a producer for United States Department of Agriculture. And since this was part of now the nucleus for growing food, it's an opportunity to have new farmers, new gardeners, even just households able to grow their own foods in their backyards or in their stoops. And if not in the soil, then in the water base. So right now we're looking at and participating with real life farmers every day. And that's exciting. It's truly exciting.
It's wonderful. Cindy, your experiences with Footprint Farms has given you a unique perspective on the intersection of hunger, health, culture, and malnutrition and nutrition in Mississippi. In your work with the surrounding communities, what insights have you gleaned that you may not have gained before you started the farm in Jackson?
Right, and that's a great question, and more than that, it goes so much deeper than what you just said. You know, it's one thing to say the word or to hear it, but when you're actually inside of it and you're actually there, and you not just see it, you feel it. The need for what we do and what you do and so many other organizations to help bring access. So for me, what I'm seeing and what I'm gleaming is that no accent was there. No way that you can actually do and to get. You know, we talk about health and we say you need to change your diet or so many technical programs are out there and you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But if you don't have access to actually changing and making a difference for yourself, then you're getting a lot of great information and no way to implement it. So seeing it, feeling it and being right there has not only changed my perspective, it changed my heart to understanding the need even more so. You know, we always was a part of contributing and trying to make a difference, but this is intentionally what we do and others, we are intentionally doing what we do, addressing the need of our communities that's right around us and trying to find new avenues and new way to get the message out that we all can do this and we can do it together collectively and truly make an impact for self. So a lot of great insights, great people, communities are so strong and they want to make a difference for themselves, but if they don't know how or don't have access to how, and that's I think the big part we come in and what we do at Footprint Farms. And as we always say, we do more than just plant seeds in the soil. We also plant seeds in the minds to show and to watch and to see what can be done differently. And we can apply this. So yeah, a major change in my whole life. And I try to every chance I get to talk about that, and hopefully others can see the need to do even more, to truly be that advocate for making a difference.
Oh, it's
Thank you for that
wonderful.
question. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're such an inspiring advocate. We met you in May at the Hunger Free Mississippi Conference, which we co hosted with a number of wonderful groups there in Mississippi. And we brought together many different people and organizations and sectors to discuss paths forward for making the state hunger free, more secure around food and nutrition. What were some of your main takeaways from that gathering?
Oh, great. And let me just say how great that conference was and the impact is still being felt and that those new partnerships, even with you coming in and me being here, some of the groups we knew each other but don't know each other, now we know each other better. So that to me is a major accomplishment within itself. But what I took away and what I have is that I'm not in here all by myself. There are some silos that we can come together and open up. I don't believe in walls. I don't believe in silos. I don't believe in being kept. So, my whole part of this is to be able to communicate differently among ourselves and understand that we have so many things that we can levy together and still keep what we're doing and what our obligations are, but to truly make that impact. And you and the conference itself, I think, put that extra shot in the arm to help move this even more so. Sometimes, unfortunately, but fortunately, you don't see yourself inside. It always have to be someone from outside to come in and open your eyes so you can see everybody together. And for that, let me thank you again for choosing Mississippi, for coming in, and for being that glue or that spark to make some other things happen. And I can't say thank you enough.
Well, thank you. It was our pleasure, our honor, and we are always so thrilled to be able to bring folks together. You speaking my love language about connecting and breaking down silos. That's what we really focus on here at the Alliance, and just having the opportunity to partner with so many of you who are doing wonderful work but could align together. One of the
Mhm.
big takeaways from me from the conference and from actually the all of the evaluations and feedback that we got from folks was, there's great work being done. There are great people. There's great passion and joy. What we need is to knit these different efforts together and work in more alignment. And so this effort will continue. As you know, we're continuing to partner with folks and really looking forward to those next steps with all of our partners there in Mississippi,
That's
including
great.
you also. Really thrilled about that.
That's that, and thank you for that. And let me just say, your impact on me and a lot of my groups, and I went back to my organizations and to a lot of the great people that I work with, and I said, listen, there's some other things that we can do and we can do differently, and let's talk about it. So what we've done because of your spark, we've now formed Under Time, which is our nonprofit arm to improve Mississippi economics. We now have a new program. It's called Jackson Fresh Collectives. And that group is coming together in different forms of fashion to help address some of the needs that our mayor of the city has put out as part of his pillars. And so right now we're excited. We went before the city council. The city council gave us a unanimous thumbs up to go for this. So now officially the collectives have been created to help fight some of the things that we talk about. And of course, for us, hunger is a big part of that, which is food and access. But with that, and is a whole holistic piece we have to look at. So now we're able to look at housing. We're able to look at other things that's needed truly to have health and to have wealth. So we're excited to do this and to bring on some people who not part of nonprofits or not part of organizations. There are people that want to make a difference that's in the communities. So we're trying to raise the awareness of that and again, pulling a whole new entity in to farm with some of the entities we already have, and that's exciting. That's a new light and giving new energy, and also working with leadership, which is so needed in every area you're looking to change. You have to have the leadership involved. You have to look at the policies, and for me, policies and regulations make it or break you. So we're looking at that in different ways, and a lot of this is because of you and the organization and giving us, I can say us, speaking for my household and my group, a new way to look at things differently, and that's always exciting.
We were thrilled to convene everyone back in May, and we're continuing those discussions. But it's just so exciting for me to hear what's come out of it and what will continue to come out of it to see people collaborating together and really working towards similar goals. That's really wonderful. I do want to change trajectory here just a little bit. One of the things that came out of the conference very clearly, and we know this through our work at the Alliance, is that the work of agriculture and the issues tied to hunger and nutrition are part of a larger ongoing civil rights movement and, focusing on justice, both in Mississippi and across the country. And I'm just curious, like, what you would say about that in terms of viewing food and nutrition through this civil rights lens.
Mhm. Well, looking through these lens and these lens we live with, my grandparents, I was a big part of the civil rights movement during the 60s in Mississippi with the Freedom Democratic Party, a part of helping to register Black people, people of color, to actually register to vote. And so this is something that we didn't just hear about or read about. The family, my family especially, lived it. So to see things that are happening right now and looking at again at policies and regulations, which is a big part behind this move to actually bring less access, less opportunities for civil rights for all people, is in danger. And it's something that we have to look at and take notice, and that it affects you, it affects us, and it affects everyone. And people don't, I don't think, realize enough of how things are happening right now out of our Congress and better yet, of the executive side of this country, the major impact that it's having for people and to our Constitution and to all the rules of law that has been in this for 250 years. So for me, looking at who's sitting at those seats making those regulations and those policies is a major part of what we'll be looking at for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And some of this is we're going back 50 years. So it's so much work to be done. And we have to be vigilant, but we also have to not give up. But now, on the other hand of this, let me just say this. This has also opened more eyes and understanding, especially in communities, how we now have to come back to know each other and to start working together. But I don't say that in the sense of it's good. I say this in the sense of necessity, that we have to start and forget some of the things that we had held to heart and open those hearts back up to do some things differently. And that's every day. That's every community. That's local. That's your everything to who's in your community, speaking out and saying they're speaking for you to make sure that message is clear and precise.
Thank you. I understand you recently returned from a trip to Ghana. I'd love to hear what you were doing there and a little bit about your experience and what you're taking away from it.
Well, great. I did. I got back in a couple days ago, not long ago. And I was there as an international gathering. We had 17 different countries that was there. It was all about resilience, looking at the black and brown people of this world and how much we are alike to difference, and actually doing some repairing to start looking at more. And the issues are so identical. I don't care what language you're speaking it in or how you express yourself out. This part was still about food and hunger and access and how we have to do things differently, working together, not just in states, but across this world and doing things. And it impacts what happens to you in Brazil with the fires and everything else impact us in Mississippi. What happens in Costa Rica and peeps down impacts us. So that being able to meet and to talk and sit and come up with policies or regulations that we want to help implement. It was a big part of while I was there. So many different great groups. I love to introduce you to a lot of those and to become a part of what they're doing. It's just massive. So for having the honor of being asked to be a panelist there and to talk about some of the things we're doing in Mississippi, in the Deep South, to the roots of the deep continent of Africa was an honor. And I do not take that lightly. We have new friends and family now in 17 other countries that we will continue to stay in contact with. And even now, we've set up a communication board that we actually have our numbers and we can talk and actually, where we are, help to say, here's some suggestions that might work that we're doing. And we're actually putting all this together through a great group. And we'll be back in Ghana again, or if not in Ghana, this whole will convene again another part of the world.
I love hearing this, and you're echoing something we hear from farmers in the US and around the country, which is farmers are facing the same issues. It doesn't matter where you are, right? You're
Mhm.
facing high input costs,
Yes.
limited markets, all of the challenges, including climate shocks. And so having that sort of collective brain power across the world, I think, is really, really helpful as you think
Yeah.
about these issues. As you know, many of our listeners are advocates. They spend a lot of time on Capitol Hill, really speaking to policymakers about what the needs are for sustainable agriculture, the needs of smallholder farmers and small and medium sized farmers in the U.S. And so you are such a persuasive and inspirational speaker. I would love to hear your advice for what would you advise them in terms of effective communication around these issues with members of Congress, for example?
Well, and thank you, and for all the work. The two things that I see, and we have to be speaking with one voice, which means we have to communicate with the language that we want, not just to Congress, but the people who actually are doing the writing. For me, it's been my experience is that the intent of Congress is this, and when it comes down to how it's being written, between that and may or shall, for some reason, get left out of that impact of how it's being, put into paper, which puts into policies, which puts into regulations. So I'm saying let's be clear about that and double checking what that language is once the intent of Congress is done to what it really looks like. The other thing I would like to just say to everyone is that, of course, facts and details makes a difference, and we have to have that research done and be specific intentionally on the regulations that we're looking to change or to impact. One of the things that I like to share is that I sit on a board with the National Policy Center that was created almost, well, 10 years ago. And it was the first policy centers in place that affects people of color. They named it the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Center. That was the legal name that came out in the bill. And now, of course, with this new administration, it changed to the National Policy Center, which we like the National Policy Center better because we never felt like that we were socially disadvantaged. We were socially disenfranchised, but not for the reasons. But what's the words and the fight? So right now, that policy center is 10 years old. Some great research has been done as it relates to the impact or the status of Black and brown farmers in this country. And I would love the opportunity to share some of that data or to share what that data is. We're still doing more research in different areas, but we're being deliberately, specifically in regulations that exist now to help change some of that regs or to suggest to Congress and especially to our congressional caucus members who we report to these research that we've done, and we're finishing up one right now on the plight of Black farmers in America.
Well, we're looking forward to that. And I know you're referring to the National Policy Research Center at Alcorn University. So I know we've covered a lot, but you have such a wealth of knowledge and experience. I'm curious, like, if there are any final messages you want to get to our listeners and the wider anti hunger community.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think the message is very clear. I think we have to start doing more of this and actually talking to each other and not just speaking the words, but putting the plans in place and telling everyone or showing them this is your role, this is your part. I think we always miss out on grabbing the opportunities like not giving that next step. Just like what we're doing right here, you put next steps in line of this is what we have to do. A lot of times we, and listening to the listening orders, we do not do enough on implementing after we've come through all of this great work to actually know our part and our roles. It is a big thing, but we have to show that when you slice it up in smaller pieces and everyone is having that small piece to do is not so overwhelming. And it can be done, it has to be done. But I think it's a different way in how we approach it. But let's approach it together. Let's not stop and give up. Let's just be intentionally precise and letting everybody understand if this is your lane, We don't want you to do nothing but stay in that lane and move. We're not asking you to go 3 lanes over. We're asking that 3 lanes over and that's in that lane to do their part. And as long as we're doing that together, I think that's one of the things that John Lewis always said, we'll get into good trouble. We'll
Mm,
be in good trouble together just by doing that. But you have to have someone there to take all this great information in and everybody could take it back to understanding, yeah, it's a big thing, but my part to do is this in this quilt. And I love your analogy when you talked about the different things we do with the different threads. I see this as going back to how quilts were made and still made by putting the different patches together, coming from
mhm.
all different places to make this one warmth that has gone through generations. And I think we got to go back to that, to patching it together to make a beautiful piece of art that makes sense. So
And
anyone that's listening, please give to any organizations that agriculture rim or that advocacy rim. Don't hesitate. $1 makes a difference. 1,000 helps. And to everyone that's listening that can, just know the power we have is within ourselves, and our power is truly our communities.
thank you. I love that
Thank you.
analogy of a quilt. I think that working together, yes, we can create a beautiful mosaic, and I appreciate you so greatly. Thank you for joining us today on the Voices to End
Thank
Hunger
you.
podcast.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott of Footprint Farms. You can learn more about the farm and its work at footprintfarmsms.org. Did you like what you heard today? Don't forget to follow and share our podcast. And feel free to send us comments, questions, or ideas to podcast@allianceendhunger.org. This has been another episode of Voices to End Hunger. It was produced and edited by Nate McGrath. I'm Minerva Delgado. See you next time.